Hiya, back again. We've got the last day of this painting to do, the last section of our seascape. So we've got a few things to do in the foreground. We've got some holes to punch into that water, we've got to take the masking off, and then we've got to deal with the white paper where the masking comes off, because it's no good just allowing the masking to come off and leaving it be, because it just looks odd. So we do have to work back into it. So that's the plan for today. So I shall turn you around and we'll get cracking. So the first thing I want to do today is to come through here and to work into my foreground. You can see we've got these little holes that punch into the foam. I also want to make a little bit more of these ridges, and we've got the holes that punch into the foam. So that's my plan for the first part here. So I'm starting off with my two blues mix. Now this is ultramarine and peacock blue. If you don't have peacock blue, you just need a slightly brighter blue. So it could be a phthalo or an intense blue or something like that really. Just something that's got a little bit more punch. You can see I'm dry brushing and just taking my time. I am going from light to dark, so I'm putting the surface on the water before I punch those holes into it. I'm coming in under where these little waves lie, because adding a bit more shadow to them makes them a bit more prominent. Again, you can do what I've just done there, put a bit of colour down, grab a little bit of water and just work it and move it around. But make sure, I'll bring you in a little bit closer to see. Make sure when you do this that you leave some of this colour behind. So you can see some of that pale, pale blue showing through. And I'm not mixing very much of my colour, so each time I do this, it's still only the two blues really, and a little bit of my favourite colour, that muck off the palette. But each time I mix it, the mix is coming up different, and that makes it more interesting. Well, I think so anyway. And because I'm doing this, I'm going to jump around the paper, and that allows me again not to have too much of a colour in one corner. Now up here I also want to pick up a little bit of my gold. You have to be careful not to use bright yellows for this, because if you do you're going to end up with greens, which I suppose is alright for the sea. But in this instance I just want these blues to golds. That sort of soft transition from one to the other. Let's move across to this side. And just softly working in sort of horizontal marks just to give me this water surface. Now this is quite a quick demonstration, and you could see with doing this that you could spend an awful long time getting all of these details down. But it's twofold here. One, we only have a certain amount of time. We all have busy lives, particularly now we're allowed back out a little more. And two, actually it's a really good exercise to not get too bogged down into detail too soon. So let me turn that so you can see the whole thing. So we've got this layering going on. So the next thing I need to do is to start punching these holes into the water, and that's just where the foam on the surface has broken down and you can actually see through it. So I'm going to use my gold and yellow, brown mix, my umber and gold mixed together, and put a touch of ultramarine into it. And I end up with this colour here. And I want it to be more brown near the back and a bit more blue near the front, because that's just the way these shapes seem to be. Let me bring you in to show you what I'm doing. So it's just putting these shapes down and trusting them. Leave them alone, don't fiddle with them. So you can see they're starting to get this sort of breaking edge of foam. And they kind of come in little patches of them. Then we have another little patch of them. Then you get one or two little odd ones on their own. Come back over to this side. Changing to a slightly more pointy brush here, just to make the edges of them a bit less blunt. Now I'm going to add a touch more blue into it. Trust the process. Few coming over here. Again, I'm just dipping this slightly bluer so it's not a shock of change from one colour to another, it's a transition. Bring you back out. I'm just going to clean my brush. And I've just told you not to play with them, and then I've come in and played with them. There you go, so we're starting to get those sort of shapes coming forward. Like I say, they seem to come in little patches. And they're all quite horizontal, so don't try and make them circles looking down on them. You're looking across these, so they're at best ellipses, but they're mostly just little lines. Now just behind this ridge over here, we've got quite a little selection of them. Try not to go too Dalmatian on me. Then down here we haven't got a lot, but then I've got a patch over here which are very thin and fine lines. add a touch of my peacock blue into this as I come forward. And again, like before, I'm just going to make sure that colour gets touched into a few other places. Now down here there's a few more. So they're not evenly spaced all over the place, you're not decorating your mantelpiece. And then there's a section in here which really does have quite a lot just behind this ridge. Just picking up all of these colours as I go along, the odd little spot here and there. And I hope this is beginning to look now like the foam has got these holes in it rather than I've gone spotty on you. A few loose bits over here. Just picked up a bit more of my browner colour just to keep it varied. And these ones over this side are quite long. It's just looking at them, observing them from the picture. And it gets golder back here again, and back here they're really quite small. Again, just breaking up around. I don't want to make them too even, so it's about that trying to be deliberately random, which is quite a difficult thing to do, be deliberately random. I think we're quite random there now. So I think the next thing I need to do is stop playing. And then I'm going to remove the mask. And then we just have to work back into that. So, I don't have one of the fabulous mask aways, so I'm just going to use a Derwent eraser. You can use your finger, or you can just use an eraser to take that out. And next time I've got an order going in with the SAA, I think I need to make sure I get a mask away. Having seen the others use them, they do look fabulous. So you can see, let me bring you in just to show you there. So you can see how lovely and crisp that mask has come away. But it's too crisp at the minute, so I need to work back into it. So I'll pull you back. You don't need to watch me take all the mask off, so I'm going to take the mask off and come back. So I've now taken my masking off, and I'll bring you in because I just want to show you how hard it can look. So we've got these marks that really are quite hard, and they stand proud, they don't sit underneath. This is supposed to be over the top of this, and that doesn't sit underneath, so we just need to work it a little bit. So I'm coming back in with my gold colours that I've been using around here, and I'm just going to shade them a little where they're underneath, and all of a sudden they sit back. So we've just got a little bit of shading going on there. I'm going to have a little bit of shading underneath that edge. and then just wash that away. And then we've got this area that doesn't look quite so stark. And again here, where we had our bits of silver, that shall come back in. Again, I just don't want the edges to be too hard. Just adding a touch more shading. Now over here, now I've taken the mask off, I wish I'd seen this before, but now I've taken the mask off, I think that edge needs to be shaded underneath. So I'm going to come in and put a shadow under this edge here, and then wash it away. Again, we can just take that right up to the edge. And now that sits on top. And what I want to do here, again, this is just using my ultramarine and umber mix. I just want to tuck this as a separate layer. So I'm putting that in, washing my brush, and then softening that out. And then that just gives us a bit more shading within there. Now here, all of this is fab, but again, the ridges are just a bit too defined. So I'm coming back in. I'm going to pick a bit more of the SAA's gold up as well. Now what I have to be really careful of is that I don't lose that white that I'd masked out. But all I'm doing is just softening it so it's not floating. Now here, along this edge, I've got the shadow underneath, but I also need to create shadow within that area. Again, it just makes it seem more realistic, less stuck on. Bit of shadow going up into this area. Take a touch more. Just being careful not to lose all of that white. So this is enhancing and not getting rid of it. So hopefully we've got shapes galore going on there now. Let me bring you back out to see the whole thing. There we go. So there we have my seascape. And as ever with these demos, they're done quite quickly. I will probably spend a little bit of time. I'll have a fiddle and then I'll put the finished thing. But it's only doing what I've already done. I'm not going to do anything different to what I've done. But I might just come in and reiterate some of the shadows. I might play with some of the holes in the foam down here. But that's basically it. Let me just turn you around to say thank you. So there we go. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I will be jumping on at the end of this video to say my live farewells to you. Please ask if you've got any questions. I'd love to see your versions of this if you have a go. All the resources are in the resources folder, which is under the photos tab. So if you need that, go and have a look there. That's on the Artist Demo Days Facebook page. And thank you for being with me this week. I have loved it, and I will see you live in a couple of minutes for my farewells.